Using just my phone and this one copy and paste DM script, I've made over 8 figures online selling digital products. And in this video, I'm literally just going to give you this copy and paste DM script that generates an extra $50,000 to $100,000 a month for my business. Basically just me messaging my followers back and forth, especially those who are interested in what it is I have to offer. So first off, let me just teach with you the high level framework. Okay. And I know this looks really complicated. It's actually really not. So let me just break it down for you. So first off, you always want to start a conversation that's called a convo starter with a keyword, which is when someone DMs you. So if you looked at our stories training, you'll know that we always want to do a DM keyword. So message me with this word and they send that message. That's called a keyword inbound, right? You can also send an outbound. OBT stands for outbound message, which is where you start a conversation with them. So maybe you get a new follower, you message them, hey, appreciate the new follow. How'd you come across my content? That first message is you sending them an outbound, okay? Now, once you have a convo start, whether it's an inbound keyword or it's an outbound conversation start, then you want to go ahead and give them over a freebie. Now, the freebie most of the time is going to be a free video. It's going to be a free course. It could be a guide, right? It's just anything that's valuable that's actually going to over deliver and give your customer a lot of value, okay? This freebie should also answer most of the objections and questions that someone may have in order so that they're in a buyer state of mind and they actually want to work with you. Now, once you send that over, then we're going to go ahead and establish rapport. Rapport simply means building a relationship with your audience, and you do that by asking specific, relevant messages that help understand the prospect's problems, okay? After you ask the series of questions, which I'm going to cover here in the script, then we go ahead and we go for the sale. Now, when you go for the sale, there's 2 funnels that you can go, right? You can have a high-ticket call funnel, which is where you need to book a call in order to do an enrollment call to make a sale, or you go ahead and you sell directly by website and you just go ahead and you drop a link, okay? Either one works here, but the most important thing here is when you go for the sale, you want to send the link and you always want to ask a question at the very end, so you always advance the conversation forward. I'll talk a little bit more about that and why that's so important, okay? And then if they purchase, congratulations. You do something called a button up, which is where basically you congratulate them, you tell them about what their next steps are, and you make sure that they actually can get onboarded so that they can get the customer results that you promised, right? And then if it's anything related to customer service, you can always just redirect people, hey, please go and ask your question here instead, not on, the DMs, because this is typically where a lot of people message me, new followers message me. So you always have a separate place to answer people's questions. You don't want to answer your customers' questions inside the DMs on Instagram, for example, because it's going to get lost, okay? Now, this is going to be for the people who buy. Now, for most people, they're not going to buy. And that's just because of the statistics of how a sales process works, right? For the people who don't buy, they're typically not going to buy because they have some kind of question, concern. I call that to be an objection. An objection is just basically, well, I don't think it's going to work because of, and then the insert objection. I don't think it's going to work because of, I'm worried about whatever it is that we're worried about. So you want to answer and handle those objections. And then once you handle and answer those questions, you want to loop back with the question. So are you finally ready to get started now? So to answer your question, how do you feel about getting started now? And you loop back and then you propose the call or the sale again. So you send them the link again. So you're finally ready to get started and then you loop back. And for most of the time, if someone doesn't buy, it's basically just going to be answer the question, loop back, answer the concern, loop back. And you just stay in the circle here, okay? Now, if someone doesn't buy for whatever reason, if you want to do a secondary loop, and that's what the second circle is here, if they don't purchase, well, you could also ask, so for example, if they click on the link to buy your product, or if you have an enrollment call and they take the call, but they don't end up buying, I always like to reach out to people to understand, hey, was there something that didn't go right? Why didn't you buy the product? You always want to ask if someone doesn't buy. Why? Right? So if someone doesn't purchase the product after clicking on the link, you ask, hey, what happened? Are you okay? Or did you have some questions? Did you get lost? Did you forget? Right? So you want to ask them. And then what happens is they're typically going to tell you an objection, or they're going to tell you a concern. Or sometimes, for example, if you're selling by the call, they literally had an emergency and they forgot about the fact that they had a call. So in that case, it's all good. You just rebook them back in, right? But here, whenever people have a question, what you do is now you put them into your long-term nurture pipeline. So some people, because they just don't have KLT, they don't know you, like you, or trust you yet, they need to follow and consume more of your content for another 30, 60, 90 days. I've had people follow me for 2 years and finally decide to buy, right? So in this situation here, when they're in this long-term pipeline, what you do is you want to give them free valuable resources, right? You want to give them courses, you want to give them free guides, you want to send them over YouTube videos, you want to give them more and more value, because when you do that, that starts to build the relationship and accelerate and time collapse so that they want to actually buy the product that you promote much faster, right? So within 30 to 90 days, sometimes even a year long, maybe even longer, right? You send them free resources, and every single time you send them a free resource, you always finish with a question. Something, hey, could you send me your #1 learning lesson after you go through this video? Hey, I'm going to send you this free guide. Tell me, what are your #1 takeaways? right, that you had from it. Because what happens is that tells you whether or not they're paying attention. And number two, if they had any intent or interest, right? And so you just keep on circling back here until finally they're ready to buy. And then you go back to the top, you book a call, you go for the sale. If you send them a link to a checkout page, then you send it right there. And then you go ahead and you move them forward in the sale process. So from a 30,000 foot view, that's basically what it's going to look like. Okay. Now let's start with some best practices. And then once I give you these best practices, I'm actually going to literally just go into the script. So I'm going to give you the copy and paste messages you can literally just start using right now. Okay. So best practice wise, whenever you're sending, you never want to copy and paste messages because on the platforms on Meta, Instagram, Facebook, right? The artificial intelligence can actually sense if you're copy and pasting, and then they're going to worry that you're a bot. And so you might get chat blocked, and that's not fun. So you don't want to get a ban on sending messages. So that's why you don't want to copy and paste all the time. Okay. So always type out by finger. You don't want to type out copy and paste. Okay. The next thing is from a speed standpoint of how many new conversations, be very careful with how many outbound messages you send. Okay. So on an hourly basis, you don't want to send more than 50 outbound messages to new conversations that don't exist. Okay. Now with inbound messages, so for example, if you go to your message request tab and you have like 50, 100 people there, you can answer those people because they're the ones that reached out to you. So Meta knows, okay, these people reached out to you, so me answering them is totally no problem, right? That's totally no issue. You can hit all of them up, but just remember, when you do hit all of them up, do not copy and paste messages. And then the other thing that you don't want to copy and paste is you don't want to copy and paste links, because if you give them links, right, a link to a checkout page, for example, and you send those copy paste, again, Instagram is going to think you're a bot. And if they think you're a bot, you're going to get in trouble, right? You're going to get chat blocked. So you don't want to do that. Okay. Also, anytime someone is messaging you, if you want to reactivate the person, you could always like the comment. If they commented on your post, you like their comment, you reply to their comment, and then you send them a message, right? Because that way what happens is some people, when you send them a message, they don't get a notification of that. But let's say they commented and you respond to the comment and then you send them a message, they'll get a notification on their phone that you responded to the comment, and they'll go, oh, who's this person? And then they'll click on the message and then they'll realize that you send them a message, right? So comments and replying to comments, especially on your posts, is really important. And then you send them a message, right? Third thing, response time actually matters. Okay. So the sooner someone hits you up and you respond to them, the more likely they're actually going to be active during that time. And then if they're active that time, you just want to move the conversation forward. The last thing you want to do is play ping pong, where you send them a message and then 5 hours later they respond to you, and then 5 hours later you respond to them. And then basically like it takes you 10 days to get through a couple different messages, when if you're just literally there on the spot, they're active, you're active, you just message them back and forth, and then you go ahead and you move the conversation all the way down the pipeline, right? That's why response time matters, okay? Also, when you're messaging, avoid paragraphs. You don't want to send long walls of text, because that just kind of gives off like a desperate boyfriend-girlfriend vibe, right? You want to make sure that you actually are concise, 1-2 lines, 3-5 lines, but you don't want to send paragraphs, otherwise you overwhelm them. And also people, when they're on their phone, they just don't want to read long paragraphs, okay? And this one's really obvious, but use common sense. A lot of people overthink it. They're like, oh my gosh, what do I say? What do I say? You're talking to a human. You're talking to a friend. So I like to think of it as, hey, how would I give advice to a friend who is just asking me for some helpful advice, or a younger sibling? If you have a sibling, great. If you don't have a sibling, then just think about when you're in school, and let's say you're a senior in high school, and then there's a freshman that is just 2 or 3 years younger than you, but that person really looked up to you. How could you give that person advice, right? And then show empathy, right? I'll show you exactly a framework for how do you show empathy and build a relationship, but you always want to empathize with people, okay? And then finally, remember how I told you, and I said this a couple times, you always want to end with a question. The reason you do that is because you don't want a conversation to just die off, right? And just end on your side. So when you ask people a question, you're always advancing and moving the conversation forward. And you want to be the leader in the DMs when you're leading the conversation. So you don't want people to actually die off, right? And you do that by always asking questions, okay? And then finally, and this is a really big one, especially for people if you've never done DMs before, don't get discouraged by rejection, okay? People are going to ghost you. They're not going to respond to you. You're going to feel discouraged, right? Some people might even be rude to you. They might say something offensive or like cuss you out or do anything like that. Just don't be hurt by that, and understand that it's a volume game, right? If you message 100 people and only 2 people buy, all right, that's a 2% conversion rate, but guess what? You still made 2 sales, right? So don't get discouraged by rejection. Doing this and building the calluses, like the metaphorical calluses on your hand, but from DMing and building that emotional resilience is what's going to make you a really good business person. So just don't get discouraged, okay? So let's actually talk about what the script looks like. So in terms of the framework, you always start off with a convo start, okay? Again, I will explain it to you. It's either inbound or outbound. So they can DM you, they could comment below, or you're going to send them an outbound message, okay? From there, you want to give them the freebie, the free asset, And then you want to ask for the top learning lessons. And again, you do this in order to understand comprehension, if they're paying attention, and if they actually are a quality prospect. The difference of someone saying, yeah, I went through it, it was good, versus, oh my gosh, that was such a valuable training. Thank you for putting that together. You can see that there's two different levels of intent in that situation, okay? And then you want to propose the next step. So if you sell a product in the DMs, you want to go ahead and just drop the link to the sales page. If you're selling via an enrollment call, then you want to send a booking calendar link. That's pretty obvious, right? Depending on which funnel that you have, you want to propose the next step. And then you want to go to handle objections after that. So if you're selling by the DM, you're going to have to answer these in the DM, okay? And this is also a cool part. If you're promoting a product by another company, so you're doing arbitrage, you're promoting an affiliate offer, then what you want to do is you want to create a three-way group chat between you, the founder or creator of the product, and then oftentimes the creator, him or herself, will just go ahead in the DMs and answer the questions for you. So that's actually kind of cool because you don't have to do the objection handling yourself. You can just create a three-way group chat with them, and then they're going to go ahead and handle this for you, right? And of course, if you're selling your own offer, then you're going to have to handle the objections yourself, okay? If you're sold by call, most of the time, when people start asking you a lot of questions, you can just direct them to the call as a solution. So you can say, hey, I really appreciate these questions, but I think that honestly the easiest thing to do is you just jump on a call and I can answer the questions right then and there. So you position the call as the solution to all the questions that they have, right? And then again, if it's an affiliate offer, meaning you're promoting another company's offer, then you can create a three-way group chat with the creator or the founder of the product, and then the creator and the team can go ahead and answer the questions or encourage the person to book a call from there, right? Otherwise, if it's your own, then you're going to have to answer the questions and objections to push them and inspire them to want to book a call. Hey, if you want this whole DM script on this Google document, just go to my Instagram, drop me follow, and then just message me one word, doc, D-O-C, and I'll send this whole script over to you so you can start using it immediately. Okay? So in terms of the priority of what the script's going to look like, you always want to prioritize people that DM you a keyword. So if you're making call to actions in your content, freebie, guide, me, how, if they're sending you, these are the first people because these are the people who are literally raising their hand saying, hey, I'm interested in what it is that you have to offer, okay? The next set of priorities are going to be the people who comment on your post. So if you have a post on like a reel, for example, and the reel says, hey, comment down below this word, these people are also very interested. And so you want to go ahead and send a message to these people as well, okay? Thirdly, you want to do general inquiry. So if you ever get any DMs from people that maybe they didn't send you a specific keyword, but they're interested, like they'll say, hey, I just came across your profile. Can you tell me how your mentorship works? Can you tell me how your fitness coaching program works? I love the work that you're doing. That's also a pretty high intent person. So I would answer those people's messages. And then finally, I would create outbound messages. Now, in the beginning, when you don't have an audience, you're going to have to rely more on this, right? So for example, if you only have 10 followers, well, guess what? You can only get inbound messages from up to 10 people. So you're going to want to start new conversations with people. On the low end, I would say start 10 conversations a day. On the high end, you could start 50, even 100. Now, this is going to be dependent upon how much time you have on a daily basis. And I also don't want to force you to send outbound messages because it's not necessary at all. But what I will say is if you don't have a good audience or big audience, in the beginning, I would recommend you start conversations with these people. Because what happens is if your content doesn't go viral, your outbound messages is basically your hedge, meaning your protection, your insurance against when your content doesn't perform. Because if you don't have new audience members coming in, that's okay, because you're starting new conversations on a daily basis. So it's like a brute force way. It's like you can force your way through to building relationships with new people and have conversations with new people. So you always have a pipeline of people that are ready to want to learn from you, even if you don't have content that's performing. Now, again, I really want to make this clear. If you don't want to send DMs, that's totally fine. But if you don't want to do this, then you really have to overemphasize and lean into making really viral content. And you want to follow the 10 by 10 as well as the viral transformation script that I taught you before, the VTS and the VRS, right? Because that's what's going to create really viral content. So ideally, you do both. You get really good content, and then you also do outbound. But for whatever reason, if you don't feel comfortable doing outbound, it's also okay. You can just focus on doing content. But what I will say is sending conversations to people is very, very powerful, and I would recommend this, okay? Now, after you start this priority, this is all the convo starter, right? Meaning this is going to be the first conversation message that you have. Now we want to move them through the script. So you ready for it? Here's the actual script. So if they send you a message with the word me or how, whatever it is, the first thing you want to do is you're going to say, awesome. Have you checked out and then obviously in the brackets, you have to customize this yourself. Have you checked out the free course, the free guide, the free training that explains benefit without pain? I can send it to you right here if you want. They're going to say, yeah, send it to me, right? So for example, have you checked out my 22-minute training on how I lost 14 pounds in 42 days without dieting and without working out in a gym? I can send it to you if you want. That's like a fitness offer example, if you had something like this, right? If you're promoting another company's offer, then what you want to do is, obviously the free course is probably not going to be your face. It's going to be their face. So you want to position your mentor right? The other person's offer, you want to position that person as a mentor. So you can say something like this: hey, have you checked out the free course that my mentor made or my coach made that explains step by step the best way to lose 14 pounds in 42 days? Or the best way, if it's a business offer, the best business model that exists that's leveling up your life and building a thriving digital product business, right? So anytime you promote an offer of someone else, it doesn't matter what the offer is, you always want to position them as the mentor and coach, right? And you can say, I can send it to you here if you want. And they're going to say, yeah, go for it. And then at this point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to drop it. Here it is. Can you tell me your top 2 learning lessons once you finish it? It's super life-changing. And again, the reason why you do this is because you want them to actually watch the video and then message you back so that you know that they actually learned, that they got value from it. Because the most important thing is you want people to get value. You want people to be educated, to actually learn really well from you before they actually take an action of wanting to buy anything from you. You always want to over-deliver and give people value, build trust that way, right? Once they send you the takeaways, you ask them, well, what was your biggest takeaway from the course? What did you learn from it? And then at that point, right, they tell you, oh man, I learned so much from this. This is so awesome, right? And then at this point, you propose the next step, right? I love that. Yeah, I totally resonate with XYZ as well. So what do you think? Are you ready to get started inside of my program, right? Are you ready to get started inside of XYZ program to achieve benefit, right? So this one, obviously in every bracket spot, you want to go ahead and add in your own specific offer. And then if you're proposing it, so this specifically is if you're selling the product by the checkout page. So if you're selling a product that's low ticket, you're basically at this point, after they go through the free course, are you ready to get started, right? If you're booking a call, okay, because you're doing the call funnel, then what you want to do is you want to propose the call. Love that. I'm glad that, and I totally resonate with XYZ as well. Were you able to book a strategy call yet? And the reason why you want to say this is because inside of the free course, at the very end of the free course, there should already be a call to action in that video to want to book a call. So basically when you say, were you able to book a call, you're basically just reminding them of what was already said inside of the video, right? And basically at this point, you're just going to continue following up with them until they buy the product if you're selling my checkout page, or continue to follow up with them until they book a call, right? And if they ask you a lot of questions, like I told you, the really cool part about a call is you can answer the questions on the call. So like, oh my gosh, I have this question, this question, this question. You say, great, these are really great questions. I used to have the same thoughts as you. Let's do this. Rather than just send big walls of paragraphs here, why don't we jump on a quick clarity call, game plan call, strategy call, whatever you want to call it. And I can answer those questions for you. And then also I can give you a roadmap of what the next 30 days could look like working with me to help you lose your first 10 pounds, right? So you see how that's like a really easy way to position it if you're selling a fitness offer, right? Does that work? I can send you the calendar link here if you like. And they say yes, and you send the calendar link, right? If you're selling someone else's offer, you say, look, these are great questions. I actually had the same thing as you. The best thing that I personally did, remember, you're talking about your own personal story, which is really cool because your testimony is the most powerful thing to inspiring other people to want to take action. See, the best thing that I personally did was I jumped on and I booked a call with one of the business advisors, or one of the fitness coaches, right? Depending on the offers, one of the relationship counselors, right? Whatever you want to call your advisor, because they actually help me map out a clear game plan of what the next 30 days could look like, right? And they also answered my questions. Are you down to have a call? I'll send you the counter link here. So the way that you position it, if you yourself are taking the call, if you're selling your own offer, or you're trying to get them to book a call with a advisor team for another company if you're selling someone else's offer, it's basically the same thing. It's just there's slight tweak in the language to make sure that you're either sending them to speak with you or speak with the team member, right? So that's basically how you would set that up there, okay? Now, in terms of advanced questions to build a stronger relationship, remember, trust is built by the quality of your questions. So if you go to a doctor's office and you're sick, right? How do you feel after, 15, 20 minutes of talking to the doctor? Oh, wow, this doctor actually knows what they're talking about because they're asking you really, really quality questions. They'll look at you, right? Intensely, right? With intention. How long has it been hurting for? Does it hurt here when I touch it, right? Does it radiate anywhere? Does it move anywhere else? Okay, got it. Let me take your heart rate. What have you been eating? How have you been sleeping? And they ask you genuine questions, right? And that, through the questions, is what builds a relationship with that expert. So if you want to build a genuine relationship with your prospects, with the people that you're messaging with, you have to ask quality questions. And so these are some questions in a framework that I strongly recommend you follow in order to build the trust. So for example, the first thing I always like to do is I like to gain permission, right? I want to gain permission before I go ahead and start asking questions. So, hey, is it cool with you if I ask you a few questions just to better understand your goals, just to make sure I can help you, right? That's a really good question, just to be able to position yourself as the authority and get their compliance, ask questions, right? Then current situation, right? You want to ask questions to help you better understand what the prospect has already done. So what kind of programs have you tried? What kind of methods have you tried, right? What kind of diets or workout programs have you tried in the past, right? And how's that been going for you? Are you seeing results yet, right? chances are, if they're talking to you, it's probably because they haven't seen the result yet. So you want to go ahead and advance the conversation forward. Desired situation. Okay, well, where do you want to go in the next 3 or 6 months, right? What do you want to achieve? What's the big goal here, right? And then what you want to do is, because you know the current and you know the desired, so you know the now and you know where they want to go, you want to find the gap, right? So what do you think is the biggest thing that's holding you back to getting to that goal, right? And after you get these things, right, what you can do is you can give insights now. You can give a little bit of value so that they actually see your expertise. So, for example, I've gone through exactly what you're going through right now. I've gone from mentorship to fitness program to diet program, and honestly, none of these things worked. Can I give you some insights on exactly what changed everything for me, right? And then they're going to give you permission. And then what I like to do here is I like to emphasize, if you have, let's say, for example, a one-on-one fitness program, right, where you teach people how to lose weight, you can say, look, the reason why I was stuck was because I was watching all these YouTube videos. I would try all these different diets and workout programs, but I was just so overwhelmed by the information online. And personally for me, I never invested into a one-on-one coach that I could turn to for questions and who could hold me accountable to getting my dream body. And everything changed for me when I found my first one-on-one fitness mentor, because that was the first time I had someone holding me accountable. Does that make sense? Right? And they're going to say, yeah, that totally does. And at that point, because you've asked all these questions here at this point, now you can go ahead and set them up for success by giving them and telling them about your offer, right? So you could say something like this. Now, this is completely up to you, but I'm more than happy to jump on with you for a few minutes and give you a game plan call to walk you through benefit, how to lose your first 10 pounds without going to the gym 6 times a week, right? That would be a really good example. And it might be one of the most valuable 30, 40 minutes that you spend this entire month, but it's up to you. Would you like me to drop my calendar link? And the reason why I ask them, would you like me to drop calendar link, is because I never want to push. I never want to push people. I always want to build a very casual, gentle relationship, and I pull people along. Don't push, pull, right? And if you're promoting another company's offer, right, what you could do is you could say, listen, it's completely up to you, but I joined a mentorship that helped me lose my first 10 pounds. It changed everything for me. I achieved benefit, right? A couple months ago, I booked a strategy call. Basically, you're just telling them what you did, which is exactly what you want them to do right now. A couple months ago, I booked a call with a strategy team, with an advisor, with a coach, right, with one of their counselors. And I was so fortunate that I was accepted into this fitness mastermind. I was in this fitness community. I strongly recommend it, honestly. Were you able to book a team with the advisor yet? If not, I can send you the link here. So you see what I'm doing here? The language is just slightly different, again, depending on if it's your offer or if it's someone else's offer, because you just position it slightly differently. But you want to position the call as genuinely being valuable, because generally on an enrollment call, what is done is you ask questions, actually give them a really clear roadmap. And the way that I like to do my enrollment calls is, regardless of whether someone wants to buy from us or not, I want to make sure that no matter what, they get value on the call, right? They get a lot of value on the call. And so that's what it's for, right? Now, we're coming here to the objection handling framework, okay? The objection handling framework is basically, if someone doesn't buy from you, it's because they have some kind of concern. And I'm going to show you right now exactly how to overcome that concern. I call it the triple FA, FFFA, okay? And that stands for feel, felt, found, and advance, okay? So if someone doesn't move forward, they don't want to buy your product when you send them the link, or they don't want to book a call, this is how you say it. They'll tell you, well, I didn't buy the product because I don't fully believe that fitness one-on-one coaching is the thing that I need, right? This is how you respond. I totally get how you feel. There's the feel, right? People need to feel heard. You need to be empathetic with them so they actually understand that you understand them, right? Then you want to use the felt. I used to feel that way too. So you talk about your past. I felt that way because I've been there too. And then you talk about found. Found is, well, this is what I found out. And this is the learning lesson that I had, right? You're giving them value here. So this is what overcomes the objection when you answer the question there. And then advance. Advance means you move the conversation forward. So where do you want to go from here, right? You always want to advance the conversation by asking a question, and you keep the conversation going, you overcome the objection, and then you find out if there's another objection, and you keep doing that until finally they're ready to book a call or buy the product through the link, right? If you're selling for the chat, then you just go directly for the sale by sending them the link, right? So for example, let's use that fitness example. Well, I don't know if I want to buy this fitness program because I've tried 3-4 different fitness programs in the past and they just never worked for me. So that's genuinely a concern that someone would have. And this is how you would say, hey, I totally get how you feel. I used to feel that way too, because I used to try countless diet after program, nothing worked for me. Can I tell you what I found out? This is what I discovered. What I discovered was that any diet works. It's not the diet that matters, it's the consistency. But the reason why I was not consistent was because I didn't have a coach a one-on-one coach who held me accountable and pushed me every step of the way. And so for me, the reason why this was such a valuable program is because I had a one-on-one mentor who held my hand and held me accountable and pushed me to stick to the diet and be consistent. So where would you like to go from here? I mean, I could schedule for a call, or where would you like to go from here? I can send you the link here so you can actually see it for yourself if you like. Did you see what I just did there? I did the whole FFFA, and I did so in such a graceful way that gets them to realize, man, this person has been here as well. This person has already been on the other side and figured it out. And it makes total sense why the concern that I have shouldn't be a concern. And so that's how you overcome any kind of objection. Okay, FFFA, extremely valuable framework. Okay, and then of course the follow-up. Okay, so remember, in this diagram, which I showed you at the very beginning of today's video, the straight line at the very top here is going to be for people, it's going to be for the 5 to 10% of people that actually just directly want to buy. But for most people, they're going to end up in the objection phase here. They're going to end up in the objection phase here. And so you have to go ahead and continue following up with them. And remember, when someone says no to you today, that does not mean no forever. It just means not now. Some people aren't ready yet. Maybe they're too busy. They got something happening in their personal life. But in 30, 60, 90, 1 year, they're going to want to buy from you. And so that's why you always want to maintain relationship and have a long-term mindset with all your prospects. Remember, the fortune is in the follow-up. Okay. And so we just did the FFFA, right? So the feel, felt, found framework. So you can do that. And then what you want is if someone is not yet ready to buy, that's totally fine. Give them another bonus resource. This is why I recommend you build out a library of a lot of free content, free courses, free guides, free trainings, because even if someone doesn't want to buy from you, always want to leave a good taste in their mouth. And at the end of the day, help people. So, hey, no problem. I get you're not ready yet. Hey, take a look at this free course. Check this out. I think you're getting a lot of value from it. Right? And then at the end, you always advance the conversation. So you ask them the question, right? You reloop back, and that's what you want to do. Okay. So no matter what, whenever you follow with people, you always want to give them value. And remember, the fortune is in the follow-up, but more importantly, the fortune is in the frequency of the follow-up. So what I mean by that is you also want to increase the frequency at which how often you follow up. So for example, I like to follow people on a weekly basis if they don't buy. So if someone doesn't buy and you know for a fact that, okay, they're not ready yet because maybe they have, and they'll tell you, hey, I have final exams coming up. Hey, I'm having my second baby right now and my wife is in the hospital and I can't think about anything. There's valid reasons for why someone's not ready. So if they're not ready, you want to keep them hot. And you keep them hot by doing exactly what I said. You send them the nurture asset, you check in with them, you ask for the top learning lessons, their top takeaways, and then you follow up, right? You follow up. Hey, Naeem, hope you have a great Monday. How are you, right? I just dropped this new free course, this new training on XYZ. It's so good. I thought of you when I did it. Can I send it to you here? They're going to be like, yeah, of course. You send it, right? And then you follow up with them. Hey, how did it go? What did you learn from it, right? And then you just keep repeating that on a weekly basis. And if you keep doing this, you're just going to add so much goodwill and build so much relational value with that person. Eventually, they're going to want to buy from you, right? And then in terms of reactivating conversations, okay, reactivating conversations is really, really simple. This is going to be basically, if someone ghosts you, meaning they stop responding to you, don't freak out. Okay, you got to remember, people message you when they're at the gym, they're at work, they're in the park. So if someone doesn't get back to you, don't assume, oh, okay, it's just because that person doesn't want to work with me. Absolutely not. The reason why is probably just because they got busy. So you want to remain respectfully persistent, right? You want to remain eagerly friendly. You always want to be friendly, respectful, but you want to be persistent, right? You want to follow up with them. So if someone leaves you unseen, they don't respond to you for 1 or 2 hours, just send them a reactivation message, right? And then if you send 2 or 3 reactivation messages and they don't respond, then wait 24 hours, right? And then stop, okay? Because after this point, if you send 3 or 4 messages and they stop responding to you, it just looks spammy, right? And then you want to send a minimum of 7 follow-up messages. You want to give them 24 hours in between each message, and then that's how you do so, okay? So if you send them a free guide or free course, you would say, hey, did you take a look at the training or the free course I just sent to you, right? And then after 1 day, if they don't respond, you could send them, hello, still with me? Are you ghosting me? Are you just busy? This is kind of a fun one, right? You could send this one, just literally arrows. Hey, just bumping this up, right? And if you send 4 or 5 of these messages and they still haven't responded to you and it's been like a week, right? All you need to do at the very end, at the last message, is you could say something like, hey, I see that you got really busy, so I'll leave you to it. Do you have any feedback on how I could have improved? Or you could say, is there something I said that offended you, right? Because when you say something like this, maybe genuinely you did say something that offended them and they'll give you feedback, right? They genuinely give you feedback. And what's really cool is if they give you feedback, you can try reactivating, you can ask for apology, and you can try to maintain the relationship, right? And if they don't respond, then you just leave it be, right? And they're just not ready right now. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they took a social media detox, right? So they're not even responding to anyone, right? And then a really easy way to reactivate people is also to like and respond to their content, right? because when you look at their content and you like it, they get notifications for it, right? And then what happens is when they get notifications that you just like their stuff, you just reply to their story, it reminds them to want to get back to your DMs, right? So reply to the stories, comment on their posts, like their posts, and when you do stuff like that, you build a relationship with them. So now you know the exact script for how to DM your audience and make sales consistently, but you need to have a really good product to over-deliver for your customer. So check out this video right here where I'm going to share with you exactly how to build a world-class product and transform the lives of your customers. I'll see you there in the next video.